Good morning, guys. It is day number 4 of Contemporaryathon, and it's the start of my part 2 reading vlog. I have Avery with me, and we are just hanging out this morning. I had some coffee, and Avery is just having a blast, so excuse all the baby noises. I know last night I said I was going to go right to bed and not read any more of the Bromance Book Club, but I ended up staying up late to upload my part 1 reading vlog, and so while it was uploading, I got some more reading in, and I got to like 77% before I fell asleep. And then this morning, it's about a little before 9 now, and I just finished the Bromance Book Club by Lyssa Kay Adams, and I ended up really enjoying this book. Like I said earlier, it was way more serious than I was expecting based on the illustrated cover, but I really enjoyed the topic, and I felt like it was a really mature subject matter. And I don't want to say too much more about the plot just because I don't want to give anything away. It is a pretty straightforward plot, but I did really enjoy the main couple, and I enjoyed the ending. I loved the humor in it. I loved the little section of the historical romance novel, and so this one I really enjoyed, and I think I'm going to give it probably about 4 stars. So I really liked it, and I'm going to pick up my next read. I think I'll pick up a thriller next, so I need to pick one off of NetGalley that I want to read for like my dark book. So when I do and get some reading in, I will come back and update you later. Okay, so it's several hours later, and my husband and I are out for some errands. I just picked up a library book from my local library called Such a Perfect Wife by Kate White, and this is some type of domestic thriller, I think. I don't really know what it's about, but I've seen it around on like Goodreads and things, so I've been wanting to read it, and so my library had it and I just picked it up. I don't know when I'm going to get around to it, but I'm really looking forward to picking it up, and I really like the cover as well with this rose on there. And we are about to go get some coffee, so I'll definitely show you the coffee when I get it. It is one of my absolute favorites from Dutch Bros. And then we're also going to pick up my Kia because it has been in the shop for weeks. The motor went out when we were out of town in Oregon, and we've had this rental minivan for weeks now, and finally we're going to be giving it back tomorrow, and we get our vehicle back today, so that's really exciting. And then I did start a book this afternoon called In Her Eyes by Sarah Alderson, and I am about 75% of the way through, and I'm liking it so far. It's about this married couple who their house gets broken into one evening, and the burglars end up really injuring their 12-year-old daughter, and now she is in a coma and basically brain dead. And the police are looking into who burglarized their house, and all signs are pointing back to the husband. He's in some financial trouble, there's some secrets, and so that's kind of where we're at right now. And I do like it. I wouldn't say it's like a 5-star read, but it is pretty good, and it's an arc that I got off of NetGalley. It comes out I think in November. So this is the coffee I've been getting lately from Dutch Bros. It is their pumpkin kicker, which is basically like a pumpkin pie flavoring along with an Irish cream type of drink. And then I do whipped cream and caramel drizzle, which is a total heart attack with sugar and caffeine, but it is so delicious. So if you guys have a Dutch Bros near you, which it's strictly a like California and Oregon kind of chain, I would definitely recommend you guys get this. It is so good, and I'm really ready to be caffeinated because I'm pretty tired. So for dinner tonight, we're having Asian inspired shrimp salads, and in these salads we have some grilled shrimp that I marinated in one of those McCormick marinade packets. I think it was like the wood fire grill one. And then for the salads, we have romaine lettuce, shredded carrot, sliced up red bell pepper, some wonton strips, dressing, and also some tomatoes. And for the dressing, I tried a new one because they were out of the one I normally use, and I got this Lighthouse Sesame Ginger, and it is where the refrigerated dressings are, and it is really, really good, so I'd really recommend it. And then for the wonton strips, we get these fresh gourmet garlic ginger kind, and they're really, really good if you like ginger. This is a really fresh dinner that we love. We really enjoy eating shrimp, so I'd really recommend this. I don't have a recipe for it because it's just something I thought of, but I can list all the ingredients and kind of my recipe down below. I'm really hungry, so we're gonna dive right into this. Okay, so it is after 9 o'clock, and I just finished In Her Eyes by Sarah Alderson. And when I was in my car earlier and I did a check-in, I think I was 3/4 of the way down with the book. So I finally had time to quickly finish it. It was a really quick read, and I really enjoyed the first part of this book. Even until about the 75% mark, I was still really invested in the story, and I really liked more of the beginning of the novel, and I felt like over time it kind of went downhill, and it just became really unbelievable novel a little confusing and things were just explained rather than shown. I'm pretty bummed out about that because this book had so much promise and I was really enjoying it. I probably would have given it 4 stars at the like 50% mark, but then by the end I think I'm going to give it 3 stars just because the ending was really lackluster for me and I didn't enjoy it at all. So that's a little bit of a disappointment, but that is okay. I don't know if I'll read any more tonight. I'm really tired. I had a really long day and I didn't sleep very well last night. So if I pick up anything, I might just pick up a romance novel on my Kindle. We will see if I stick to my TBR. So I'll see what's on my Kindle and what I'm in the mood for. But yeah, enough rambling. I'm gonna go to bed and I will check in tomorrow. It is a little bit before noon and last night I think I said I wasn't gonna read anymore before bed because I was so exhausted. But for some reason I could not turn my brain off, so I ended up picking up another book before I went to sleep. And I chose a book that was not on my TBR, a big surprise. And I chose Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. And I picked this up because I've heard about this book several times from a couple different romance booktubers. I think Jess over at Peace Love Books and Nicolette over at Falling Over Romance, they both really liked this book. I knew it was some type of emotional romance, but I didn't know the premise whatsoever. And right now I'm a little bit before the halfway mark and I am loving it. It's about a young woman named Bree. I think she's about 21 years old. And recently her father has died and she's really struggling, so she decides to skip town and she comes to this little small town in the middle of nowhere and she rents a house and gets a job there and kind of needs a fresh start for the time being. And she comes across this guy at a drugstore. They basically run into each other and he doesn't speak to her. And when she asks her neighbor and other townspeople about him, she learns his name is Archer. He's in his 20s and he doesn't speak. And everyone thinks he's deaf, but he's actually mute. And the two of them create this friendship because her father was deaf, so she knows sign language and Archer knows sign language. And of course it's going to be their romance, and they're both two tortured souls coming together, and I am loving this book so much. I predict it's going to be 5 stars because I love their chemistry together, their physical chemistry, their emotional chemistry, and I love stories about people who have really hard pasts and they kind of overcome those things and that the love makes them feel better. And so I can't wait to finish this one. I guarantee I'll get through it today. So yesterday we did get my car back from the Kia dealership. It was transported from Oregon, and so we're really happy to have it back. But now we need to return our rental car to Enterprise. So today after my husband gets off work, we're going to switch over the car seat, empty out the van, and bring it back to Enterprise. So I'm just going to keep on reading, and when I get more done, I will come back and update you guys. Okay, so it's only a couple of hours later, and my husband and I are going to go out and do the Enterprise thing. And then we might get some dinner since it's Friday night and not have to cook. But I did want to update you guys that I breezed through Archer's Voice, and I just finished it. And I think I'm going to give it somewhere between 4.5 and 5 stars. This book was amazing. It was so emotional. I'd classify this as new adult because both our main characters are in their early 20s, but neither of them are in college. And they're both dealing with some pretty serious, heavy things in their lives. And they're brought together and their romance is just perfect. I loved them together. Their physical and emotional chemistry was on point. And this took me on an emotional roller coaster, which a lot of new adult romances I feel like do. And if you haven't read it already, I would highly recommend it. I recently got it on Kindle for like $1.99, and I've also seen it on Book Outlet for pretty cheap as well. So if you're interested in it, I would definitely pick it up since it's on a really good deal right now. So I'm really pleased because overall I've had such a great reading week so far. I've had 3 books that have been 5 stars, and 1 2-star, 1 3-star, and 1 4-star. So that's a pretty good distribution. So I feel really successful with the Contemporaryathon thus far. I don't always have the best of luck with readathons because I don't read things that I normally would just pick up when I'm in the mood for it. And that leads me to usually rating it lower because I wasn't interested in the first place. But I've been picking up a lot of books this week that I'm really excited for. And I actually don't think I would have picked up Archer's Voice if it wasn't for this readathon. I was really inspired to read it because I've heard so many good things about it. And I'm really glad that I did because this one was so good. And I can't wait to read more by this author because I never read anything by her before. So yeah, I just wanted to pop on and do this quick update, and I will see you guys later. Okay, so it's day number 6 of Contemporaryathon. I didn't get to update you guys last night. I again just got really busy and then went to sleep. But I did start another book last night, and that is Coming Up Roses by Stacey Hart. This one just came out, I think, in August, and I am buddy reading this with Kendra over at Kendra Loves Books. I will link her down below. So far, I'm halfway through this one, and it's about about a guy named Luke, and his parents own a flower shop, but I think it is slowly on the decline. So he moves back home to New York all the way from California to help out with the shop, and he runs into a girl he used to know named Tess, and she works at the flower shop and she has for years. And I think they have some bad blood there, so at first they really don't like each other. And Luke is a bad boy, kind of playboy type of guy, and Tess is more wholesome. She takes care of her disabled father, but she does hold a grudge against Luke, and it is their romance, and so far I am not loving it. Like I said, I'm halfway through, so I'm hoping I love it more towards the end of the novel. At first I didn't really like Luke because he seemed like a jerk, but he has since redeemed himself. But there's something about the relationship between Tess and Luke that I'm not loving. Their emotional connection isn't really there for me, and all of a sudden they started having sex and all these physical things happening between them, and I didn't really know where it came from. It seemed like it came out of left field. And I do really enjoy more sexy scenes and romances. I just like there to be an emotional foundation between the characters, so I really feel the connection between them. So I'm hoping by the end I start to feel their relationship and I connect more to them. But right now I'm not really loving it, so I'd probably give it about 3 stars at this point. So I'm going to continue to read that for the rest of the evening. I do have the Thriller Talks After Dark live show in about 2 hours with Jackie over at Weeby Bookin'. We're going to be discussing the book 13 by Steve Kavanaugh, which, spoiler, neither of us liked it, so we're pretty nervous to discuss it. Don't have any questions for it just because I don't even think she finished it and I kind of skim read it. We just both didn't like it, which I am shocked because I saw so many good reviews on Goodreads, and even people who don't like courtroom thrillers really liked that one, so we were definitely in the minority there. And then I just made some coffee because I didn't have any this morning, and I just bought this mug today. My husband and I went to Home Goods. Well, I went to Home Goods. He stayed in the car and played Pokemon Go. So I went to Home Goods and I got this cute little mug with all these maple leaves on it, and it is really big too, so I'm really excited about this new mug. I just love fall mugs. So this is putting me in a great mood. And then this is just some French press coffee with a couple of different things in it. So online I saw this recipe to make a kind of pumpkin cream. Someone used whole cream mixed with pumpkin pie mix, which has like pumpkin and sugar and things. And so I mixed those two together with a whisk and it made this really nice frothy cream. So I added that in here as well as some vanilla Torani syrup just to add more sweetness because I don't think the pumpkin was sweet enough on its own. So I would really actually recommend it. It is really good. It's a little more work than traditional creamer, but I was feeling a little extra. So I have my coffee, gonna drink this, gonna do some reading before the live show, and I'll update you guys later. Okay, so it's a little before 11, and a couple of hours ago, Jackie and I finished up our live show on her YouTube channel, and it's now posted there if you guys want to watch it. I will link it down below. It went really well. We had a really good time. It ended up being about an hour long. We talked a little bit about 13, but neither of us liked the book, so we spent the majority of the time just chatting and answering questions and just talking about life in general. We had a really good time, and I'm really excited for October's live show, which will also have Kendra from Kendra Loves Books. And just after I put Avery to bed, I got more reading done in Coming Up Roses by Stacey Hart. I was at like 51% when I checked in last, and now I'm at 77%, and I'm not really loving this book. I really wish I was because I love the cover, the premise was really good, but I do have a couple issues with this novel. First, I didn't really like Luke. He seemed like a jerk, but then he became really nice, and I am really liking his character now. But he seemed to have a really fast switch, so you didn't really see a transition between him being like a playboy to being a really nice guy. And then our main heroine, Tess, really didn't like him in the beginning, and then all of a sudden she was having sex with him in a supply closet. It just seemed kind of out of nowhere, and they didn't have an emotional build-up to their relationship, and I think that's where my issues lie, because I like to see an emotional build-up before the steamy scenes. And the major conflict is starting to come into the story, and it has to do with Luke's ex-wife, and I'm usually not a fan of like the exes coming back into the story. That isn't really my thing. And it also just had a little plot twist right when I finished my last chapter that I was not a fan of, and if you guys have read it, you probably know what I'm talking about. So I'm hoping the ending wraps up well, because right now I'm not loving it. So that's kind of a bummer, but I'm gonna finish that up tomorrow, and then I probably will pick up one other book before the end of the readathon. So yeah, I'm gonna go to bed and I will check in tomorrow. Good morning, guys. It is day number 7 of Contemporaryathon. It is actually closer to noon. It's after 11 and I've just been reading this morning. I just took my shower, did some cleaning. So I've been pretty productive, and I've also finished and started a new book. So this morning I finished Coming Up Roses by Stacey Hart. And the last time I checked in before I went to bed, I think I mentioned that there was this twist that happened that I wasn't a fan of. And this book had so much potential for me. It could have been an enemies to lovers second chance romance. And we got a little bit of the enemies to lovers aspect, but then right away it switched and just turned into an insta love story. And Luke started out as a bad boy, but then right away he turned into a good guy. I wasn't a huge fan of the insta love and all of that, and I really didn't like his ex-wife coming into play towards the end of the novel and creating unnecessary drama. And the trope used was one of my least favorite tropes that people use. I ended up giving it 3 stars because it still was enjoyable to a certain degree. I liked the Bennett family, which was Luke's family, and I believe there's going to be more books surrounding the other siblings, and I really liked their dynamic and the mom, and so I really want to see how that plays out. But I didn't love Tess and Luke's particular romance. I had really high hopes for this, but I should have known that it could have been hit or miss for me because I've read 4 novels by Stacey Hart, and I loved 2 and I really didn't like 2. So when I go into one of her books, I never know if I'm going to like it or not, which is kind of a bummer because I want to love everything she writes, and this cover was gorgeous, but it just was not a new favorite. And then I picked up another one, and it's not going to count for any challenges because I've already read 7 books, but it came in at the library, so I picked it up a couple days ago, and that is Pretty Guilty Woman by Gina Lamanna. And this one I think is supposed to be a woman's fiction kind of mystery drama, kind of like Liane Moriarty. And I'm just going to read you what it says on the back because that really drew me into the story. It says, 4 women, 4 confessions, 1 murder. Something has gone terribly wrong at the Banks wedding. A man is dead. 4 different women rush to offer confessions, each insisting that they committed the crime alone. Such a thing is impossible, isn't it? And we follow 4 different women. Their names are Ginger, Kate, Emily, and Lulu, and all of them are attending a wedding at a really nice resort in California. And we know that the night of the rehearsal dinner, a man ends up murdered, and the police are questioning each woman and all the other guests as well. And so we see these women, but then we also see some interviews from the police interspersed in here. And it reminds me a lot of Big Little Lies and how it's written and how it's kind of a cross between women's fiction and a mystery. I wouldn't say it is quite as well done as Big Little Lies, but it's still really enjoyable, and it has the same vibe as that book. So if you like that book, you probably would like this one too. I'm only a little bit over 100 pages into it, and it's a little over 300 pages, so I'm about a third of the way through. I think I could breeze through this today because it is a really fast-paced read. I think it came out this year and I saw a couple people mention it, so it really intrigued me, and so I'm really happy I picked it up. I know I probably don't have time in October, so I knew I wanted to fit it in the end of this month. So yeah, when I get more reading done, I will come back and update you later. Okay, so it's about 4:30 and I just filmed a couple videos for my channel, and I did finish my final book for the read-a-thon just a little while ago, and that is Pretty Guilty Woman by Gina Lamanna. And this one I ended up really enjoying. It was a really quick read, really easy to get through. And when I said it's like Big Little Lies, I definitely wasn't kidding. The further I got into this book, the more it resembled that novel, which kind of threw me off a little bit because it felt a little recycled. So for that reason, I ended up giving it 3.5 stars instead of a higher rating, just because I felt like the premise was really similar to Big Little Lies. It kind of felt like a low-key copycat, but I really did enjoy it. It was so easy to get through. If you're looking for a thriller, this definitely is not a thriller, but if you like those women's fiction stories with a slight mystery element, this would definitely be for you. I would recommend it. Just if you've read Big Little Lies, it won't seem very new. It'll seem kind of familiar, but it's still really good. And like I said, I gave it 3.5 stars. So since I'm not going to be finishing any more books for this read-a-thon, I'm just going to go over all the books that I read this week, their star rating, and what challenges they counted for. So I have all the challenges listed here with my TBR, and then I put all the books that I actually read, all the days that I vlogged, all of the information here, so I'm just going to go over all of them now. The first book I finished this week was The Wives by Taryn Fisher. I gave this one 5 stars, and it counts for the challenge of reading a 2019 release. The second book that I read is The Right Swipe by Alicia Rye. I gave this one 2 stars, and it counts for the challenge of reading a diverse contemporary. The next book that I read is How to Walk Away by Catherine Center. I gave this 5 stars, and it counts for the challenge of reading a book with yellow on the cover. The next book that I completed is The Bromance Book Club by Lyssa Kay Adams. I gave this 4 stars and it counts for the challenge of reading a book with an illustrated cover. The next book that I read is In Her Eyes by Sarah Alderson. I gave this one 3 stars and it counts for the challenge of reading a dark or hard-hitting contemporary. The next book that I read is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I gave this 4.5 stars and it counts for the challenge of reading a book that is beloved by a member of the book community. The next book that I read is Coming Up Roses by Stacey Hart. I gave this 3 stars and I did this as a buddy read with Kendra at Kendra Loves Books, and this counts for the challenge of reading a book with plants on the cover. The last book that I read is Pretty Guilty Woman by Gina LaManna. I gave this one 3.5 stars, but since I completed all the challenges, I'm not counting this for any challenge, but just an extra book read. So those are all the books that I read for the Contemporaryathon. I had such a fun time participating in this read-a-thon and doing these vlogs. Let me know if you guys also had vlogs or if you posted on Instagram what you guys read. I would love to go check it out. I will link all these books down below and I will see you guys all in my next one. Bye.